y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about building healthy relationships. The truth is, some of us don't know what healthy relationships look like because we've never experienced it and we had no examples of it growing up. What some people think is healthy is actually really toxic. So I think it's a good idea to explore what a healthy relationship is, what that looks like and what that feels like, and then we can talk about how you can nurture your relationships in a healthy way. So what exactly does a healthy relationship look like? I think a healthy relationship is not always easy, but it should not be really hard. And I think if a relationship feels too hard, it may not be a healthy one. Something is missing, something that should be there is not there, or something that is there shouldn't be. So we want to take a look at those relationships to be able to determine if they're healthy and productive in our life. One of the aspects of a healthy relationship is mutual respect. I spoke in an earlier video about boundaries, and I think if you're around people who are not respectful of your boundaries or you're not respectful of theirs, then that is a big red flag. I am able to respect you as a human being even if I disagree with you, and so that needs to be reciprocal. It needs to go both ways. So having mutual respect where I respect you and you also have enough respect for me to treat me with respect is mandatory. Also, healthy relationships must have trust. If I cannot trust you, this is not a good relationship, and it goes both ways as well. That's another thing about healthy relationships. They are reciprocal, so whatever is going in one direction is also coming back in the other direction. I cannot take past disappointments and past hurts and then apply them in this situation if they don't apply. But if something is happening and I'm not able to trust you actually because of your behavior or vice versa, then that's another big red flag. In a healthy relationship, there needs to be understanding. When we are going through different things, I need to understand where you're coming from and you need to understand where I'm coming from. That level of understanding needs to be the foundation that this whole relationship is built on. So it's not, my way or the highway. I want to take your thoughts and your opinions into consideration the same way I want you to take mine into consideration. And then we can come together to decide, okay, now we have these two perspectives. Now what do we want to do with that? These components are applicable regardless of the type of relationship that we're talking about. It could be a romantic or intimate relationship with boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, that type of thing. Or it could be a friendship. It could be with your family. It could be professional with your coworkers and bosses and things. Regardless of what type of relationship it is, there needs to be levels of mutual respect, trust, and understanding going on. So there are 6 elements of a healthy relationship. That is communication, trust, respect, support, empathy, and conflict resolution. Communication has to be good. You cannot have a healthy relationship with someone you can't communicate with. Y'all not going to be able to be on the same page about things. Communication needs to be open, honest, respectful. I need to be able to talk to you about whatever the things are that I need to talk to you about and feel comfortable being able to allow you to receive that information in a positive way. I need to feel like if I say this to this person, they're not gonna criticize me or something like that. So I need to feel comfortable enough to be open and direct with you so that we can work on whatever we need to work on to resolve whatever issues we have. My communication needs to be honest. You need to be able to trust that the words coming out of my mouth are the truth and I'm not trying to manipulate or get over on you. Also, communication needs to be respectful. That respect needs to go both ways. So I don't need to be saying things that I know are going to trigger you or hurt your feelings. That's not a healthy relationship. If you know a person, you kind of know what their buttons are. I should not be intentionally trying to provoke you. That's a clear red flag. Trust is mandatory mandatory in a healthy relationship. It's something that needs to be built up over time. I think sometimes we are too free in the beginning when we first meet someone. Some of us are just too open and oversharing information. If you don't really know the person, then you do need to be careful about what information you share or don't share. The level of sharing should be even. Okay, so we just met. I don't need to tell you my whole life story. I don't know you that well, so I don't know what you're gonna do with that information. Nor should you be telling me yours. But over time, I share a little bit and you share a little bit. I heard an analogy of like a jar of marbles. As I share with you, I share myself with you, I put a marble in the jar. You share yourself with me, you put one. We each put one each time we share, and eventually the jar is full. Now, problem is that when trust is broken, it's like, taking a hammer to that jar and smashing it. Can I put the jar back together? Yes. If I take my time, I can find the pieces of glass, and I can glue them back together. The jar is not going to be the same. There's probably still going to be pieces missing, but will the jar hold marbles again? Probably so, depending on how well we put it back together. So that's kind of how a relationship works. Trust is built over time. If trust is broken, it can be really difficult to put it back together, but it's not impossible. So you have to build that trust up. And if you have a strong foundation to begin with, it's easier to put the jar back together and build that trust back up. Healthy relationships must have a good level of respect going both ways. Sometimes people think I can only respect you if we agree on things. We do not have to agree on things. Part of respect is allowing people to have their own thoughts and opinions about things, even if those differ from yours. We don't have to agree. We don't have to have the same beliefs. Can I still respect you? Yes, I can. And I think that's part of the thing that's been missing a lot lately as far as what I have seen. People have lost respect for each other. And it's like, if I don't agree with you, then you're a horrible human being and there's no place for you on this planet. And it just should not be that way. So having a level of respect is respecting each other's differences, and in some cases actually appreciating those differences. Respecting other people's opinions and their right to have their own opinion. And then also respecting boundaries. If I have told you that this thing makes me feel uncomfortable and you continue to do it, that means you don't respect me. I need to pay attention to that. I can't control your behavior. So if I say don't cross the line and you want to cross it, I cannot make you stay on the other side of the line. But what I can do is decide whether I'm going to stay in this space and stay in this relationship, and that's the part that I have control over. So if you're dealing with people who do not respect you, they don't respect your boundaries, they don't respect your opinions, your differences, it may not be a healthy relationship, and you might want to think about, do I need to be here? And again, we talk about relationships, people instantly think about intimate relationships. But this applies across the board. It can be a friendship, family, your job, whatever it is. If it's not serving you in a respectful way, it may need to go. Another key component in a healthy relationship is support. I need to be able to depend on you to support me as needed, and you need to be able to depend on me to do the same for you. It should not be one way, where one person is always the needy one and the other one never gets their needs met. I need to be able to understand what your goals are, what your dreams are, your strives and desires in terms of personal growth, and I need to respect that and be supportive of that. You can't have a healthy relationship without empathy. If you are hurting and I care about you, I'm going to hurt as well. No one that you care about should be all happy, la-di-da, and you're over here falling apart. So empathy is important because on a relationship level, we need to be able to relate to each other emotionally. And I need you to feel what I feel. Now, we both don't need to be falling apart, but at least have a sense of emotional intelligence enough to understand where I'm coming from, and then we can kind of work through it together. That's how you become a supportive person. to me if I'm dealing with something. It starts with empathy. You have to be able to understand at least where I'm coming from and why this situation is affecting me in the way that it is. And then we can potentially work together to get through that situation. The last component is conflict resolution. Now, there is no cookie cutter way to do this, but the bottom line is that if there is a conflict in a relationship, then both parties need to have the goal of resolving that issue and not making it worse. So if we have the same goal, then we can work together to figure out how to resolve that conflict by using fair fighting techniques. There is a healthy way to resolve a conflict and an unhealthy way. You should not be putting your hands on me. Like, that should not be happening in any relationship. Name calling, cursing me out, yelling, all of this anger and aggression and things like that, that is not going to resolve the conflict. Both parties need to be able to be emotionally intelligent enough to regulate themselves and sit down and have conversations and discussions about whatever the issue is. We both need to be willing to compromise as needed to resolve the issue. I need to be open to the idea that I might be the problem and I might be wrong. And if you're trying to explain things to me, I need to be open to hearing what you say. It goes both ways. So being able to resolve conflicts, like, you can't have a healthy relationship without it. Because another thing about healthy relationships is that we are not going to agree on everything. If we are seeming to agree on everything, then I would question whether we're both being honest or is somebody going along to get along. Conflicts happen. Conflicts are important. It's how we grow and it's how we develop. Being able to have conflict in a healthy way will make the relationship stronger. Some of us jump around from one relationship to the other. We never really get feelings involved because maybe that's too scary. Sometimes we will self-sabotage and push people away, again, because maybe it's too scary or we don't feel worthy. None of those things are going to be helpful in nurturing and maintaining relationships. And it's called nurturing and maintaining because it's an ongoing process. Over time, we need to be developing these relationships and making sure we're putting thought and intention behind how we're dealing with people on that level. Some of the things you can do is making sure you're spending quality time with people. We only have so much time to be here, and you want to make sure you're using that time wisely to build these relationships with the people that actually matter in your life. Shared experiences. If I can think back, remember that time last year when we went to that place and we did that really fun thing? Like, yeah, we did that, right? And now we have that shared experience that we can pull from. It bonds us together. So making sure that you are creating experiences and memories with people, I think, is important. Also showing appreciation. Sometimes you just need to say, thank you. I appreciate that. Or, you know what? You did an excellent job with that. People need to hear that. You cannot praise too much. And when you praise for the behaviors that you like, a miracle happens. Those behaviors tend to increase. So if you can catch people doing good, catch people doing the things that you would like to see more of, praise them for those things. Say thank you, say I appreciate that, say I noticed, I saw that, I see you. One of the things you cannot forget about is personal growth. No relationship is going to be perfect. There will be conflict and problems from time to time. You need to be willing to work on yourself to improve those relationships because you are the person you have control over. You cannot control the other person. You can't make them do anything. So you need to be open to the idea there is something that you can do differently to help the situation. Usually in a relationship, it's not a one-sided thing. So it's not necessarily a me problem or a you problem. It's a problem of how we're interacting with each other. And so being able to adjust yourself can help influence the health of that relationship. So I mentioned a few red flags: someone being manipulative, someone being super aggressive, someone who violates your boundaries or shows little respect for your needs or your desires, someone who is not able to be empathetic. They don't seem to really care about you or the outcome of whatever the situation is. Someone who is disrespectful of you as a human being, whether in private or in public. Also considering values and whether or not this person's values align with my values, in the sense of the decisions that they make. Are we able to grow together? Regardless of the type of situation or the type of relationship that you're dealing with, self-care is one of the most important things. You have to be able to take care of yourself. You cannot depend on other people to fix you or to fix your problems for you. You have to be able to be self-aware enough to do what you need to do to work on yourself. And I think if both people are working on themselves and they have a common goal to make the relationship as positive as it can be, then you'll end up in a positive place with the relationship. But if someone is more about self and what can I get out of you versus how can we grow together, that relationship is likely not going to be the healthiest. You also need to make sure you're setting good boundaries. You have to communicate your boundaries to the other people because no one can see them. It's like an invisible fence that only you can see. So if I don't know the fence is there, I'm going to walk past it all the time. So you have to communicate where the boundary is in an effective way so people can understand, and then it's their responsibility then to accept the boundary or to negotiate with you about the boundary. I may not like that boundary. That boundary may not work for me. So that's a discussion. I can't make you change your boundaries, but if the boundary is intrusive in the relationship, we need to be able to talk about that and see if we can compromise on that. And if we cannot, then I need to decide, okay, is that something I'm willing to live with or not? I have the right to exit that relationship if I don't like your boundaries. So again, the key elements of a healthy relationship is good communication, a good level of trust and respect for each other, being able to be supportive to each other and helping each other grow as individuals and helping the relationship grow together, and then also having empathy and good conflict resolution skills. Those are all things that are pretty much required in order to have a healthy relationship. I should not dread being in this relationship. If this relationship causes me to feel dread and it's like, ooh, I don't even want to go home, or ooh, I can't stand going to work because the environment is so toxic, then maybe I have some decisions I need to make about how I want to live my life and what my next moves are going to be. So reflect on your relationships. I want to hear from you. What are some of your red flags that you've seen? Have you been able to work on some red flags that you have had to help improve your relationships? Do you have tips? Do you have other things that people should look out for in order to determine if this relationship is toxic or not? Let me know. I want to hear from you. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss an episode. And as always, fear nothing, assume nothing, and take nothing for granted. All right, y'all. Go be great.